So our story starts tonight on April 4th, 2003. Sergeant First Class Paul R. Smith distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty in action with an armed enemy near Baghdad International Airport in Iraq. On that day, Sergeant First Class Smith was engaged in the construction of a prisoner of war holding area when his task force was violently attacked by a company-sized enemy force. Realizing the vulnerability of over 100 soldiers, Sergeant First Class Smith quickly organized a hasty defense consisting of 2 platoons of soldiers, 1 Bradley fighting vehicle, and 3 armored personnel carriers. As the fight developed, Sergeant First Class Smith braved hostile enemy fire to personally engage the enemy with hand grenades and anti-tank weapons and organize the evacuation of 3 wounded soldiers from an armored personnel carrier struck by a rocket-propelled grenade and a 60mm mortar round. Fearing the enemy would overrun their defenses, Sergeant First Class Smith moved under the withering enemy fire to man a .50 caliber machine gun mounted on a damaged armored personnel carrier. In total disregard for his life, he maintained his exposed position in order to engage the attacking enemy force. During this action, he was mortally wounded. His courageous actions helped defeat the enemy attack, resulted in as many as 50 enemy soldiers killed, while allowing the safe withdrawal of numerous wounded soldiers. Sergeant First Class Smith's extraordinary heroism and uncommon valor are in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect the greatest credit upon himself, the 3rd Infantry Division, the Rock of Marne, and the United States Army. Welcome to the Real Grounded Podcast, where we have real conversations about real topics that affect us in our everyday life. I am Tim.
And I am Jeff.
And we also sometimes eat cheesecake on camera.
We do.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, find that.
Yeah, it'll be on our YouTube. I don't think we're putting up the audio on the other stuff, but it's on the YouTube. It'll be a video, the whole thing. Check it out.
Absolutely. So, the reason I started with this story, this is one of thousands of Medal of Honor recipients. Brave men who have served our country.
Yeah.
Most Medal of Honor recipients are given posthumously, which means they're dead. They died in combat. That's usually, in fact, in the, I believe, Iraq War was the first one ever given to a living person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, usually it is given to someone who goes... Well, not usually. The Medal of Honor is the highest medal you can get as a military member.
Gotcha.
It's the highest award you can win in the country. It is literally, there's no civilian equivalent to it. It is over and above the call of duty. So it's always something like this. And I'll tell you, Sergeant First Class, this guy wasn't necessarily a combat MOS. He was there building stuff. So he wasn't necessarily somebody who was naturally a trigger puller.
Sure.
But when they were attacked... I mean, to run across fire, to be launching grenades and shooting RPGs and grab a .50 cal. I've fired a .50 cal before. There's not a lot of cover when you're firing a .50 cal.
Sure.
So he got up on a gun and he was going at the enemy, knowing that he was going to die. There are thousands of men who have received this award. Men from Vietnam, from Civil War, from World War I. It's an incredible honor. And I wanted to read that story to kind of walk into what we're talking today. It's not a regular question like we normally do. I want to talk about Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It's coming up. It's actually, we're recording this the day before Memorial Day, but it's Memorial Day weekend. And Jeff had a different perspective on it, and I want to talk through that perspective and kind of share my own as a member of the military. But it's something I wanted to start with. It's an incredible honor to serve as a member of the military.
Amen.
But Memorial Day isn't about thanking the person in your life or the person you know for their service.
Right.
Do that on Veterans Day. Yes, thank people for their service.
Sure.
I mean, it's appreciated. It's kind of a weird thing when people do it, for me, to be really honest, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm, doing a whole lot. And yet, one thing the military always emphasizes, doesn't matter what branch you're in, doesn't matter what job you do, is they talk about the 1%. So less than 1% of the United States population signs up willingly, signs on the dotted line to become a member of the United States military. So it talks about how we are less than 1%.
Wow.
That actually said, nope, if need be, we'll lay our lives down to protect the civilian world, to protect
Yeah,
the
yeah.
freedoms, the good and the bad
Right,
that we see
right.
in this country.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of I'll talk about my experience with Memorial Day and when it really became real to me. But
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective because you have a different perspective than I do, and I'm excited to talk through that.
Okay. Well, I you know, we you hit me up.
Yeah.
You know, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, and like, okay, let's do Memorial Day and honor these soldiers.
Yep.
And immediately I had this tension, and I was just like, I'm wrestling with this, and it's a struggle for me. So like, I know what Memorial Day is all about. You know what I mean? I think the average person is going to grill something and hang out with family, and more power to you. I get
Day
that.
off of work, great.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And for us, a paid day off of work. You
Hey,
know what
we'll
I mean?
take it.
Come on, you
I'm
know,
not gonna
but
complain.
right? So like, but I do know. Hey, this is more about, you know, the armed forces and specifically those who have died.
Yes.
And I don't ever want to ever come off as if I'm disrespecting that, because that's not what it is. But
Sure.
I get so afraid based on my experiences, my life, right? I get so afraid that I'm gonna get if I don't bring up my wrestle with this, that if I'm just like yes, yeah, amen, you know, Memorial Day, whatever, I feel like I'm going to sit with people that I don't wholly agree with. I feel like sometimes I feel like our troops are mascots for people.
Okay. Explain that.
I feel like people use our troops for their own agenda.
Can you give me an example?
Well, for instance, now everybody's got a different opinion about this, and so do I. Everybody's got a different, and you have the right to have your different opinion, right? Colin Kaepernick,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Takes a knee at the national anthem.
Yep.
He's protesting police brutality against people of color. Okay.
Yep.
It gets very I can't even think of the word.
Politicized.
But yeah, polarizing.
Yeah.
One side or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it was like, you're disrespecting America. You're disrespecting the troops. And I was just like,
100%. Yeah.
okay. I was like, but he didn't say anything about the troops. Like, you know what I mean? And like, and it's just like, and in fact, he actually talked to a Marine who said, hey, I think it would be more honorable if you were to take a knee versus sitting down. And that's where he got this idea from, to take a knee. And I was just like, I feel like a lot of people speak for troops who aren't troops.
Yeah, I think that's true too. I would love to do the whole Colin Kaepernick thing as a topic sometime.
There's a whole lot there, yeah.
Well, right, because for me, I know for me in that situation, I have a different perspective on it.
Yeah, of course.
And my perspective on it is I always want to know why. So I and this is how I'm wired. I've always been wired this way, and I heard somebody say once that you can never get past the third why, like with your kids, like hey, I want to do it. It's like, hey, do that, It's like why? And then you're like, well, because of this, why? And then you always just descend into your parents where you're like, because that's the way it is, and I said so, right? Like that's what we do.
Come on.
Where for me, I've always asked the fourth why, because I always want to go. So there was a lot behind Colin Kaepernick that people reacted to.
I agree.
That was more than just, oh, I'm making this statement,
right?
But yeah, the whole kneeling for the flag thing, I think it's so interesting because in America we have freedom and we have rights.
Amen.
Like you can set our flag on fire. In other countries, that's a crime and you go to jail. I mean, Russia, which is considered to be a democracy right now, it's not. But yeah. They forced a plane in Belarus to land. Now Belarus is an adjacent country to Russia. It's not even, but Russia told the Belarus government to force a plane to land so they could arrest a journalist who was saying bad things about the Russian government. So like that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
In England, you cannot say certain things about the Queen. It's illegal. It's against the law to write certain things about the Queen. In newspapers, you can't report certain things in the media. We have freedom of speech.
We do.
Anyone anyone, and there are some morons out there who abuse this, can say anything they want.
Mm.
And so it's my perspective is obviously different on that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that soldiers can definitely become the poster boys for causes that they have nothing to do with. I remember when I joined the military a couple years ago, and the captain who took my oath. So when you join the military, you have to give your oath to an officer.
Oh, yeah.
So you literally have to put your hand on a Bible and swear an oath, which is legally binding, that you will uphold the Constitution, you will defend America against all of its enemies, foreign and domestic. And one of the things this captain said to me is, he goes, and this is right in the crazy political time. I mean, it's been a crazy political time for like 10 years in America.
Man.
But he talked about, he goes, we don't care who's in the White House. Like, we are not a political organization. Our job is to defend America's freedoms, foreign and domestic. When I put on a bulletproof vest and a bulletproof helmet, and I put a 30-round magazine in a weapon and racked that thing and was driving around South Minneapolis at 2 a.m. with SWAT.
Man.
Not that I was, running ops with SWAT or anything like that. Yeah. Like, we weren't doing that because we were trying to hurt people or threaten people.
Yeah.
We were trying to restore the peace. Our whole goal was, hey, go home, stop burning people's stuff to the ground, stop hurting people.
Come on now.
And so Memorial Day for me, and I think we're a little off, but that's okay. Memorial Day for me is a recognition of the incredible sacrifice. And that's what it is. When you sign on that line, you're signing up for whatever happens.
Real talk. Yeah.
The military is not a perfect organization because it's made up of people. I know guys in the military who are hardworking, upstanding, awesome guys.
Yeah.
I know guys who are lazy douchebags.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. You have those in every team, organ, whatever.
And it doesn't matter. I've listened to podcasts from guys who are trained to the highest level of, as high as the military can train them. So special forces operators, the guys who are the baddest of badasses. And these guys, I mean, they're awesome. Like they're killing machines. That's literally what they do. Their job is to go in and make sure that nobody comes back out. They get the objective done, which is awesome. And there's guys who do that and are honorable and they're awesome and they're fantastic and they come home and they're war heroes and you're like, okay. And there's guys who come home and beat their wife and get drunk and go out and shoot people and are crazy.
Yeah.
So like, that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
One of the things that I love, C.S. Lewis once said, is he talked about chronological snobbery. So it's this idea that we look back on the past with this 2021 lens. And we go, oh, those ignorant savages. How could they possibly think fill in the blank?
Right. Yeah, of course.
You look at the Revolutionary War. A lot of guys who founded our country were slave owners. And people go, oh my goodness, they must have been the worst guys. Okay.
Right.
Were they perfect? No.
Right.
Were they striving for an ideal that was completely different than anything else?
Yeah.
Did they write documents that were unique and still are unique to any other country on the planet? Yeah. Was it perfect? Of course not.
Yeah.
Because they're sinful. And you and I are sinful. It's like people who go, well, I was hurt by a pastor in the church.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yep.
So therefore all churches and all pastors are corrupt. And I go, yeah, they're made up of sinful people who are going to make mistakes and harm people. And as someone who was very hurt by several pastors, and I actually had years I had to work through that. By God's grace, I have, and I have a really good relationship with our pastors now, and there's not that fear and trepidation that there was then. But for me, when you look at Memorial Day, and you remember the people. I'll do the Gettysburg Address here in just a second because I think it's one of the greatest speeches of all time. It's short, but Abraham Lincoln says something in it. He says, "The last full measure of devotion." You think of someone who is going, take whatever conflict you want.
Right.
Take the Iraq War. Take World War I, World War II. Take the Civil War. I'll just go down here. So in World War II. There was 291,557 dead.
Wow.
Okay, like Think about that's the population of Minneapolis.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So drop a nuke on Minneapolis and all the surrounding neighborhoods and just kill everybody. That's how many people died in 4 years.
That's crazy.
The Civil War, 214,000 dead. World War I was 53,407. Vietnam, which lasted for forever, 47,434. The Korean War, 33,686. Revolutionary Wars, about 8,000. In Iraq, we've lost 4,400 plus. War of 1812 was 2,200. Afghanistan is 1833. In the Mexican-American War, we lost about 1,700 troops.
Wow.
So you think about that, like that. Every single person had a soul.
Come on now.
And every single person had a family. They had a mom. They had a dad. Now, was every single person who died in those wars a saint? Well, of course not.
Yeah.
There's good people and bad people.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Go watch Band of Brothers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen it. I thought it was great.
Great. It's fantastic. Yeah. So it's not about saying these people were perfect.
Yeah.
It's saying these people died in the pursuit of something heroic. And I think that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. He talked about how the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, were a future promise made. It was saying, we're not there yet. This is an ideal we're striving towards, and we hope to one day reach that goal, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like with our kids. Like, as we're raising our kids, we're going, okay, I'm going to invest in you sacrificially.
Of course.
Feed you and clothe you, go to work, and be up late, change diapers, all that stuff. Because I know my goal for you is that one day you're not going to poop yourself every 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Day, right? Like, it's that I want something better for you than what you have right now. On the Christian side, I think it's that idea of sanctification.
Yeah.
Jesus saves us. He gives us his love, his grace when we are dead. When we don't have anything to give to him. And he's going, someday I'm saving you because someday you're going to be holy.
Yeah, I like
someday you're going to fulfill these promises that I've made to you.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. And so it's not this idea of every soldier is perfect or every conflict the United States military hasn't done stuff. Like, yeah, there's atrocities in war. It happens. But it's the pursuit of an ideal.
Yeah.
And especially for me, so I joined the military about 2 years ago. I spent my first Memorial Day as a member of the Armed Forces at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
At basic training. And I remember we were marching to Chow, which is a unique story in and of itself. You march to Chow every day, and you have to line up, and you have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And half the time you get smoked because somebody screwed up.
Sure.
Okay. And normally when we go to Chow, we would do this like really loud chant. And if we weren't loud enough, they wouldn't let us go in. Getting the blood up, rah, rah, rah. And we had one of our drill sergeants he said, we're not going to chant today. And he made everybody be quiet. And he goes, we're just going to remember. And this was when Syria was popping off.
Sure.
This was when, like, literally they're telling us, like, hey, when you graduate basic, you might be getting shipped to somewhere where bullets are flying.
Right.
Like, you might get sent somewhere where, he talked about 60 millimeter mortars. Like, most of the casualties that happened in Iraq weren't, hey, I'm going to ride out and fight you.
Yeah.
You're going to ride out and fight me. It was, they've got a mortar somewhere in the city. They're lobbing shells into our base.
Yeah.
You know? So it was different. There was a weight there. There was okay, I might be called on to give my life for this country, for these ideals that I believe in. And the other thing is, I think that almost like our kids. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You're raising your kids. You do as well as you possibly can as a parent, which we all do, right?
We try, yeah.
Okay? One of your kids just goes off the deep end.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Sure,
okay?
yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Does that make the sacrifices that you made for that child worthless? If they go their own way and they choose to use the freedom that you've given them, the advantage that you've given them for their own selfish means?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think as a parent, I would go, I think immediately I would go, what did I do? Did I do something wrong?
Sure.
You know what I mean? That type of stuff. But overall, I don't think your effort in trying to make that kid an upstanding citizen is voided.
Well, and it would grieve your heart for sure.
Sure.
It would grieve your heart. You would go, I wish they wouldn't use the gifts that I purchased for them,
Yeah.
the strengths and the things that I poured into them for evil. But you still did the right thing by giving them the choice.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I feel like that's what we need to celebrate on Memorial Day.
Mm.
And I think that if more of us, frankly, read more history,
Mm.
and we read more stories of these brave men and women who
Yeah.
went out and gave their lives, we appreciate it more.
Yeah.
I remember, I was thinking about this when I was driving over tonight. I went to Africa on a mission trip right out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we went from South Africa up into Zambia.
Yeah.
And we were crossing the boundary between Botswana and Zambia, which is a river. And we got on this ferry, and you get across the ferry, and you're in a different country. And
Yeah.
we got there, we had a convoy of 3 or 4 vehicles.
Mm.
And all of us were white guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
we-
Sure.
Pretty obvious, not from the area.
Sure.
And they pulled us over to the side of the road, and we were stuck there for like 6 hours.
Okay.
Literally, right across the river. We're just sitting there in this dirt wadi,
Yeah.
going up to the road. And we're like, what's going like, I'm asking, because we went with a very experienced team. They had done this many times. My dad and I were not experienced, our first time overseas. And like, what's taking so long? And they're like, oh, we have to bribe this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did that in Haiti.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're bringing in Bibles, and we're bringing in literature for the pastors. We're bringing in soccer balls for
Yeah.
kids. We had like
Yeah.
50 soccer balls. We're just going to give away to kids.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, you can afford this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to bribe you to get into the country. All our papers were valid.
Right. Right.
Everything was legal. But we had to bribe them just to get into the country. Why? Well, because the government was in such shambles that the only way that guy can make any money for his family is if he accepts bribes. And it's this huge corruption thing.
Right,
like
right,
we
right.
complain about corruption in politics, and I do, and I hate corruption in general, and I hate politics in general. Okay, but I went, oh my goodness, this doesn't happen when I go from Wisconsin to Minnesota,
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
never happened.
Right.
Like that's never. I've traveled all across this country. I remember I had a friend from Russia who came here, and he was blown away by you could drive from one side of America to the other and not have to stop at any border crossings and not have to show your passport. He's like, wait, you can drive? And I was like, yeah, I've done that. Like literally, I've driven from one side of the country to the other. And he's like, that's unheard of. Like that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
The freedoms that you and I take for granted were purchased with blood. They were purchased by men and women who strapped on a weapon
Yeah. Yeah.
and went into harm's way. And I mean, the one that gets always moves me probably the most. I love World War I love World War II. I understand the gravity of that, fighting overseas. But the Civil War, for me, I'm reading a biography of General Grant right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Ulysses S. Grant, which is actually not what his real name was. He changed it to Ulysses because he hated his first name.
Oh wow.
Very interesting story, actually. Very interesting dude. Failed at everything he ever did but the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything. He failed multiple businesses. He couldn't keep a job. He was terrible at everything else. But he was really, really good at being a general
Yeah.
because he knew how to make his troops love him. He was a general of the everyday soldier,
Sure.
which are always the best guys. But 214,000 men shooting each other, and a lot of them were brothers
Yeah.
and friends. Like all the commanders in the Civil War all knew each other. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
They all fought together. They all went to school together. And then when the Civil War happened, they like literally just went whoop
Yeah.
and split. So like the Battle of Gettysburg, one of the crazy storylines of the Battle of Gettysburg is there's a guy named I think what is his name? His first name's Lothario. I forget his last name. There's another general named Hancock. They were best friends before the war.
Yeah.
And the night before the Civil War started, they all were going to go their separate ways. The guy on the southern side who was a general, he literally said, "May God strike me dead if I ever raise my hand against you." And he's mulling this over the day before he's going to be in Pickett's charge. Okay,
Yeah.
which we've talked about that before. Pickett's charge, a mile and a half, open ground, full
Yeah.
artillery cover. It is a bad day. He's charging across that field with his army.
Yeah.
Guess who's waiting for him on the other side? Hancock.
Oh, really?
His best friend. He hasn't talked to him since the war. And literally, as he's dying, he gets to the wall. He gets shot as he's dying. This is all speculation, of course. But it's rumored he grabs a Union soldier and he goes, "Where's John Hancock?" He goes, "Where is he?" is he still alive? And John Hancock had just been shot.
Oh wow.
And he goes, no, he's down. He's been taken. And the guy just bursts into tears, and he goes, not all of us. Not all of us. So there was this, I mean,
Wow.
now on top of all that is just the idea of, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, and it irked me, it frustrated me, because I went, the fact that you don't feel the freedom to step into that pisses me off.
Step into what?
The freedom to go, wow, there's this legacy, there's this great history.
Sure,
that
sure.
I should be able to celebrate the history of America, the beauty of the sacrifice of these men,
Yeah.
and you can't. I don't feel like you can step into that fully,
Yeah. It's difficult.
and that pisses me off
Sure.
because the entire point of the sacrifice is so that you have the freedom to do it. And so I feel like that bugged me. Like
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
you know, in some ways, and I know we're always going to bring this back to the gospel. It's like that Christian who becomes a believer, and they become that legalistic person who never gets to step into the freedom that Jesus has.
Sure.
They don't obey because they want to. They obey
Yeah.
because they're scared not to.
Yeah.
And so they're robbed. Are they still a believer? Yes. Are they going to show up in heaven? 100%. Are they going to have glory eternal with Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? Yes. But they're not going to walk in that freedom now. They're that crusty old legalistic guy who just wants to, be in the woods and
Yeah.
wait for the rapture.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I don't want that for Jeff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, man. Right.
I don't want that for Jeff. And so I want to talk about why you don't feel like you can step into that.
All right, a few things. I do like talking to you about this, right? And I was like I was hesitant because I had a feeling like I'm like, not that you wouldn't understand or agree, but it's just
Sure.
like I know how you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And I'm just like, I don't necessarily feel that way.
Right.
And I think these things can cause conflict. And my natural thing is to go conflict, go the other way,
I was just gonna
avert.
like, hey, let's eat cheesecake together
Like,
and not talk
you
about
know what I mean?
scary
Like,
things.
yeah, let's just do
Absolutely.
cheesecake tonight, right?
Absolutely.
So
I
like,
love it.
and I think the moment you said that, I was just like, and then if I gotta say that, all right. So like, I do appreciate talking about this because I'm hearing a lot of things that you say, and I really like it and I appreciate it because I have the freedom to not completely feel the way you feel.
Absolutely.
Simply because I live here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to take that for granted. And I think we do. I think it's just,
yeah.
it's just this, it is a God-given thing.
It is.
But that is not the way most of the world has worked.
No.
It just isn't.
No.
And so like, I think we do take that for granted.
Absolutely.
I
think it's you've been to Haiti, okay?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if I call Haiti third world, but
Absolutely.
Okay, so you go to Haiti,
Yeah.
culture shock.
Oh, yeah.
All the things that are like, wait, I can't just flip on the light switch and lights come on.
Yeah. Some places.
Right? Some places.
Some other places, no.
I remember when I was in Africa and like these people were super, super nice to us.
Yeah.
We were in the nicest house in the small town that we were in. And
Yeah.
we were better than some of the guys. Some of the dudes were in like mud huts. I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah,
thatched roof
yeah.
mud huts in the boonies,
Yeah.
right? We were in a concrete block house. It had a tin roof. Okay? They would heat water over a stove over and over and over again outside and pour it into a giant tub so we could have a bath in
Yeah.
every couple days. And I was just like, you go through 40 minutes of work so I can wash myself for 10 minutes.
Right. And when I'm home, I just
Right,
turn the
right?
knob.
And I was just like, oh, I'm really spoiled.
Mm.
like, wow, I'm kind of a spoiled ass. Like, wow, that's like, it was such
Yeah.
and I never thought of it before.
Mm.
So I think until you experience it, it's super easy to be oblivious, but we can do
Yeah.
it with everything.
And it's so true. And so like, I do appreciate that. You know what I mean? I value that. And I never wanted to be like, well, if these guys aren't perfect, we shouldn't honor them, because that's not it. I think what we're truly doing is we're honoring what you did.
Yeah.
It's more than who you are. It's what you did.
Absolutely.
And it is the ultimate sacrifice. At times anybody gives their life for something, it's the ultimate sacrifice. Whether I believe they did it for a valid reason or not, it is what else can you give higher than your life? You can't.
I remember on 9/11, and I remember where I was on 9/11.
Yeah.
And I know a whole lot of guys who joined the military because of 9/11.
Yeah.
That's a totally different story. I remember the reason why we talked about heroes being firefighters.
Yeah.
Is because they went back in.
Yeah, man.
They went. That building's unstable. It's coming down. They went. We know. We're going back in.
Yeah.
And it was that bravery, that courage. That's the thing. Like as men, especially,
Man.
like we're like, I want that. Like
Yeah.
I want that attitude of like,
Yeah.
like I'm going back in.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to make it. I'm reading through the book of First Samuel right now. Like David is a badass. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, all right, I got a whole bunch of misfit crazy dudes who want to fight for me. He's like, we're going to go in and wipe out these enemies. Like, but it's that idea of, okay, I know I'm not coming out of this. I know I'm not making it. And we love those stories, right? We love the hero. Gladiator, right? Why do we love Gladiator? He goes in, he fights, even though he knows he's not going to make it. He knows he's not going to make it. You know?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite movies, 13 Hours. Go watch it. If you've never seen it, go watch it.
Okay.
Great Memorial Day film. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't
Oh,
actually.
you need to watch it.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay.
You cry.
Yeah.
You're gonna cry at the end. I cry at the end every time.
I think
I also
it's.
say some choice words every time I watch it.
I
so.
bet, and I hear what you're saying with all that. Like Gladiator, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And like, it's an honorable thing, and I think a lot of men. I'll speak for myself, but like man, if I was in that position, would I have the courage?
Yeah.
To go do something like that? You know what I mean? And so like, it is honorable. And then I think about like all these numbers you just talked about. These people who died, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Lord, don't let it be in vain.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I struggle with. Like this country is a lot better than many countries.
It is.
It just is.
It is.
And that's why people are still trying to get over here.
They're dying to get here.
Seriously.
Literally.
Yeah. And so like, I want to acknowledge that.
Yep.
But I'm just like how I felt. You know, like.
Yeah.
I love talking to you because you're a history buff and we have these stories and I get to hear about it. It reminds me of like social studies and American history and all that stuff.
That's right.
And I think about the paintings and all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Tim, I've never felt included in those things.
Ooh.
I haven't. Like I think about the Declaration of Independence and it's this beautiful thing and it is. And you think about just like forget white and black because that's where I'm going. But forget that. A group of people said, we live somewhere where we feel oppressed and we don't like this.
Yeah.
Right? We want to come over here and do it differently.
Yeah.
And all men are created equal. Everyone has a say in this, no matter where you are. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah. It is. I mean, it really is. But I didn't feel like that was for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like when I hear people talk about that stuff, and I'm just like, it's awesome. But I'm like, I don't feel like I was included in that. You know
Why
what I mean?
is that?
Well, the history of this country. Like,
Okay.
when Declaration of Independence, right?
Absolutely.
And we've talked about this before, but it's just like, all men are created equal.
Yep.
Except for the ones we're enslaving.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which is where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally my lineage. Like,
Mm-hmm.
both sides of my family are from Mississippi.
Yep.
All right? Like,
Yep.
we were slaves, bro. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so and so that's hard, I guess. And then I've seen many people in my family, just in culture in general, go, "Oh, I want to be a part of this. This is my thing." Many people of color, military. My uncle,
Yep.
he was in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
My grandfather actually didn't know this until a friend of mine helped me figure it out.
Yeah.
World War II.
Awesome.
And I was just like, "What? I don't even know." But I also know what they experienced when they got back home.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just
Absolutely.
like, the ultimate sacrifice for what?
Yep.
To be less than or to be seen as less than
Sure.
when you get back?
Sure.
And it's just like, and that's I think that's a big part of it for me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, and so like, I want to feel like that American.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think one, I can't control other people. And
Nope.
I think that's what we try to do so many times, which
I
is
agree.
such a waste of time
I agree.
and energy. But it's just like, okay, well, you just go live as that American. And honestly, I truly believe that that's what I try to do every single day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that thought is there. You know what I mean? And so like, and it's just like, and it's like, it's so imperfect, right? Because we're imperfect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But like, I love the way you said it. It was just like, we're trying to get to this place. And I guess I get afraid of, I feel like when we say these things about God bless America, thank you for our troops and the sacrifices, I
Yes.
feel like it's this blanket, or like I feel like we're mulling over this stuff here. You know what I mean? I feel like this. I never want blind loyalty to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's dangerous. I think in our faith, right?
I agree.
That's why I love apologetics, because like, why do you believe this? What makes this true,
100%.
right? And I love being able to give that to people. And so like, I'm like, hearing you talk about this more is a blessing to me, because I'm like, everybody's got a different reason for why they joined the armed forces.
Absolutely.
And like,
A lot
And
of people, can I be really honest?
yeah.
I know a lot of people because it was there was no other option.
Yeah, sure, right.
I remember
Employment,
I was struggling. I was at basic training and I was struggling with this guy who was, kind of a loser, kind of a misfit, kind of a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Was always getting in trouble and always I had a couple drill sergeants. You always have several drill sergeants.
Yeah.
I had 3. 2 male, 1 female.
Yeah,
And one was African American, one was white, one was a Hispanic guy.
yeah,
So in the military, we don't care. We do not care.
yeah,
No one gives a crap. We're going to treat you the same way. And by the way, you want to know the funniest, most racist jokes you will ever hear is from dudes in the military.
Oh, I believe it.
At each other.
I
because
believe
you
it.
had this level of camaraderie where you're like, I will take a bullet for you. So we were going to mock the crap out of each other. Hilarious. I was watching a video of some vets, and this dude, like, literally, he's like burned on like 40% of his body.
Yeah.
He's missing a couple limbs. Their nickname for him was Crispy. They're like, hey, Crispy. He's like, yeah, how's it going? It's
Oh
like, you
my
want a beer? He's
gosh.
like, yeah, I'll take a beer. Like, so I remember I was kind of getting on this kid.
Yeah,
'Cause I did very well basic. I was already a pretty disciplined person. I went in at 32, so
Sure.
obviously I have a lot of life experience behind me,
Right.
which is something I didn't realize till later. Because I blew my PT scores out of the physical training. Basically, physical fitness gets tested, push-ups,
right.
sit-ups, all that stuff. Like I crushed it,
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was out doing 20-year-olds. It was embarrassing for them.
yeah,
And I didn't realize how intimidating that would be to have a 32-year-old guy kicking your ass consistently.
Sure,
Like,
I can see
I
that.
can't even like. I can imagine how hard that would have been. So I
Yeah.
didn't realize that till later. Like I didn't have that thought because I was just kind of trying to survive.
yeah,
But like obviously that was part of it. It was so funny to me though. I was kind of getting on this kid. One of my drill sergeants, who was younger than me by the
Yeah.
way, like reamed me out. And you never want to get reamed out by a drill sergeant. It is terrifying.
sure,
It is. We had this little dude, just jacked, super nice guy, but
yeah,
if he got mad at you, you're like, oh no,
yeah,
oh we're gonna die. And I remember he goes, because everybody talks to your last name, so he goes, Casey. He goes, you might be a choir boy, and you might be the type of person who like you didn't need to come here, but some of us we got in by the skin of our teeth. We needed this to survive. And it was this moment where I was like, oh dude, yeah. You hear all these stories, juvenile delinquent kid
Yeah.
grows up no parents, really rough. What do? Send them in the military, and that's where they got their. Oh wow,
yeah,
they didn't join for honor. They didn't join. They joined because they got nowhere else to go.
man,
They joined because they were going to go to prison if they didn't.
man. I
And it
got
turns around.
and praise God for that. I got a story. A guy I know, he's a pastor now.
Yeah.
Great guy. I mean, my wife and I have been able to get to know him and his wife. Awesome people. He was just telling us a story before he, came to Christ. He's like, I wanted to die. He's like, I think he tried to commit suicide and it didn't happen. And he said, okay, this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to join the military.
And get shot.
And I'm gonna go out, and so everyone's gonna think, but I'm just going to die. So if I'm gonna
Yep.
die, I might as well just do it this way. And I was just like, dang, bro.
Suicide by enemy.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Rough.
and I know that is not everybody's story.
Nope.
I know there are men and women who genuinely, I want this, and
Yep.
I believe in what this country stands for.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's other guys that I'm just like, dang, and I'm just like, we're talking, human life.
Yeah.
Human life.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, if someone is sacrificing their lives,
Yeah.
I want it to be worth it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, let me just be very clear. I'm not anti-military. I'm not anti-gun. I'm not even anti-America, bro. Like,
Good.
Like
'Cause
my
you
thing
live
is,
here.
hey, come on, right? You think, right? And so like,
Ugh.
again, I love the freedom where I can go. This is what I feel. I fear like when people disagree with what we do as a country. It's like, you don't love America. I'm like, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
And like, but that's the beauty of this place. Like, we have the freedom to do so, and I'm
We
like,
have the freedom to
I
disagree.
don't agree with my wife all the time.
Yep.
And like, I think, hey, you do these things amazing. You make amazing cheesecake. Thank you, right? But you could work
I'm still
on
trying to
these
stay
things,
awake.
man. Seriously, right? Man, it was good, but it was like, it was a lot. But I'm like,
That's so
but I'm
good.
like, but you can do this thing better.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so like, I think we need that as a country.
Absolutely.
We have to, and I feel like the moment anyone questions anything in this country, it's like, you like this place? You why don't you just leave? And I'm like, whoa, like, so get this.
Yeah.
I put up a COVID, right?
Yeah.
A little controversial, just a little bit, possibly, right? I put up a video.
Yeah.
I don't even regret it, but it got me a lot of heat. I put up a video,
Okay.
and it was doctors and white coats, like a white coat
Yeah,
convention
yeah.
or something. And they were just talking about how they don't think COVID is this big of a deal or
Yep,
whatever. And
yep.
like, one lady's like, I think hydrochloroquine, whatever,
yeah.
can fix it. I was like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I didn't go to medical school.
This is not my area of expertise.
Right, I'm just like, but it sounded good to think, hey, this isn't a big deal. So
Yeah.
I shared the video. By the way, it was from Breitbart. You know what I mean? If you know anything about,
You got nuked.
bro, not even funny. So like,
got nuked.
this is my status. I said, not trying to start a fight,
Right.
but shouldn't we hear everything? I
Yeah.
think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, and then, oh my God. I mean, and both sides, and like people started, and then both sides, and they were just going to war with each other, and like,
and then you got the extremes on both sides going.
and-
A battleground where we can shoot each other.
exactly, and like,
Fantastic.
and I'm getting attacked in it. I got
You're
inbox
like, whoa,
messages.
Whoa!
I
I
was
just
like,
wanted to ask a question.
like that's it. Like, I'm not even saying I agree with this.
Right. Let's just
I
talk about it.
That's like, I think this is the case. Like, shouldn't we hear the information? Because
love
what
it.
I got was, that's bad information. You shouldn't
Yeah.
share this stuff. A guy who I love dearly.
Yeah.
He was like, Jeff, if you're diving into conspiracy theories, how can you share the gospel? And I was just like, whoa.
I think that COVID, more than anything else, has accentuated people's stupidity because of this. And I want to get back to what we're talking about because I think it applies. COVID introduced an aspect of fear.
Oh, absolutely.
And the aspect of fear, and here's what it did. And
Yeah.
I love COVID for this reason. Okay? It exposed people's gods.
Oh yeah.
Because we went, well, I'm trusting in my health. Well, now my health might be suspicious. Well, I'm trusting my 401k. I'm trusting in my job. I'm trusting in my plan for my life. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we're all staying at home and my kids aren't going to school. And oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do. And people became afraid.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm going to say something, and this is going to be a little controversial, so we don't care. The media,
No, yeah.
whatever that is, whatever you want to believe that is lying to you. Okay? They make money when you click on that page.
Man.
I remember I do not watch news.
Yeah.
I am anti-news.
Yeah.
Because, again, being in the military, it was so funny. Like, I spent time in downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Okay? Doing some,
Yeah, right.
okay? I would watch the news, and what the governor of the state was saying about stuff wasn't accurate. And he knew it wasn't accurate. But he was going, no. I'm not going to give examples. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, okay? But it was like, you're full of crap. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't know what we're doing. But it was a spin.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. Everything's okay. We got everything under control. Okay. And I get it.
Yeah,
Sometimes you got to not do panicking stuff and all that. But I remember I was at the gym working out,
Yeah.
and a network, I'm not going to say which network, it literally had a ticker
Yeah.
that was just, here's how many dead, and it just kept going like this.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, that's just fear mongering.
Right.
So here's where I want to bring it back to the Memorial Day, and
Yeah. And,
I want to say this, like, the fact that you don't feel like you can participate pisses me off. I'm not upset at you.
I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Like, because that's been robbed from you, and it shouldn't be. And now I want to address a couple things. I just want to. I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How much trouble are we gonna get into?
Hey, this
But
is the Real Grounded podcast, bro.
I love you, and I know that we're gonna be good no matter
Yeah.
what. And I mean that like more than anything else, like that means more to me than anything, that we can actually have these conversations.
That's it.
Because nobody's gonna have this conversation.
You can't, and like if you can't have this conversation with a stranger.
Because it's gonna piss people off. So here's the thing, okay? Is slavery part of American history? 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Sure.
Jim Crow, horrible treating of African Americans. Yes. Not downplaying that at all.
Sure.
I can talk about historical trends, and I can talk about all sorts of things where we can go, okay, the idea of slavery not being a thing was completely new, and that wasn't something that ever had happened in human history before. And the fact that we abolished slavery was a really big deal. William Wilberforce, one of my heroes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him. We'll do a whole William Wilberforce show sometime. That dude was a boss. Literally, totally rewrote the fabric of Britain's moral history by himself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He literally said, the only way we're going to change, because his whole idea was to abolish slavery.
Yeah.
Fantastic Christian, violently adored Jesus. Just incredible stuff at a time where it was okay to be a nominal Christian. Like, you kind of had to be in their culture, but all the royalty, all the lords, all those guys, and he was one. He was in their parliament. He was very, very powerful, actually. It was just, well, yeah, we talk about God and we go to church every once in a while, and he was like, no, I'm a straight up Jesus freak. And people were like, you can't be. Like, you're not allowed to be.
Right.
They called them enthusiasts. They called them Methodists. They're like, no, stop it. You're like, you really believe Jesus is real and like wants to transform our lives and change us?
Oh.
Stop that mess. We're the most powerful country on earth. And he literally went, our culture is immoral. That's why they tolerate this. We need to make our culture moral so they won't tolerate this. And he did.
Yeah.
Single-handedly. Like, he was awesome. Anyways. Yes, slavery. Horrible.
Yeah.
Nightmarish.
Yeah.
The treating of anyone
Right.
as subhuman is not okay.
I agree.
Absolutely normal throughout all human history. In fact, we're in one of the few eras where, at least in our culture, it's not normal. Does slavery exist today?
True.
100%. Does slavery exist in Africa? 100%. In fact, there's more slaves today than there ever was at the peak of the slave trade. Most people don't know that.
Yeah.
There's more slaves in Africa and in Asia and some in Europe, but that's different, than there ever was.
No, I believe it. Just population, just
population, and the fact that, I mean, you want to talk about slavery? Millions of women and children are in sex bondage right now. It's horrible.
It is horrible.
It happens in this country a lot more than you would think. Different show. So, do I have a problem with that? Yes. I can talk about historical trends, and I can talk about what the founders were going for, and even Thomas Jefferson, who was a slave owner. He has some very fascinating writings where he literally talked about how, he goes, our culture isn't ready for it. He goes, this is the goal. The goal is abolition. But he goes, it's going to take 4 generations. Because we have to change the thinking incrementally to go, okay, this isn't okay, and this isn't okay, and this is okay, because their entire economy was based on it. The South's entire economy.
Yeah.
We can talk about North and South, the dichotomy, all that. I don't want to talk about that. The experience of your uncle getting off the bus, having fought in Vietnam, arguably one of the worst conflicts we've ever been in.
Yeah.
We'll talk about jungle warfare sometime.
Man.
Jungle warfare sucks. Jungle warfare sucks because it's not just the enemy who's trying to kill you. The jungle is trying to kill you all the time.
Sure, yeah.
All the time. Poisonous insects, horrible diseases.
Man.
It's damp. You can never get dry. So you're chafing constantly. Infection. It's awful. Send me to the desert. Don't send me to the jungle. Send me to the freaking Antarctica before you send me to the jungle.
Come on now.
No. But here's my point. He got off that bus, and he was treated as something less than human, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
Many Vietnam soldiers got off that bus and were treated as subhuman.
Yeah.
Not because of their skin color, because the country didn't like them.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that your heritage has experienced that. That genuinely hurts my soul. Because I was raised to never judge somebody based on the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Yeah.
And the reason I signed up for the military is because I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe you need to be able to make your own decisions.
Amen.
And that you're responsible for them.
Amen. Yes.
But you should have the freedom to do so. And I can point to millions and millions of Americans who have done that, of all races, colors, and creeds, and said, hey, I'm going to go start fill in the blank. This business, that business.
Man.
A podcast. Okay?
Right.
Where 2 guys talk. And they have the freedom to do that. That doesn't exist in other countries.
Yeah.
I would ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that perspective, the perspective that you cannot enter fully into being, whatever you want to call it, being proud of being an American or whatever, do you feel like that was something that was taught to you, or something that was learned, or just something you've experienced, or kind of a conflagration?
I would say like a combination of all of those things.
Okay.
Things I've experienced, things that I was, taught. You know, yeah, I would say, between, family saying, hey, things like, I remember, a phrase in black families, not
Sure.
all black families, but you know what I'm talking about. If she can't use your comb, don't bring her home.
I don't know what that means.
Don't bring no white girl home.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? We have different hair utensils because we have different texture hair, right? Right.
So inside baseball, my brother has 4 adopted daughters.
Yeah.
All of them are African American.
Yeah.
And so I remember when he first, I think I've talked about this on the podcast, when they first got these little girls, they adopted them. It was like, oh, we need different hair product. Because
Yeah. Right.
this will not work.
It's a different ball game, bro.
I'm like, I'm a dude. First off, so
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Right.
hair products.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, we just shaved it really short, and just anytime it got above this, we were like,
Right. Take it off.
buzz it again.
Yeah.
Easiest haircut ever. We were very cheap growing up. I still cut my own hair sometimes.
Amen,
it's
bro.
great.
Amen.
So that existed in your culture.
Yeah.
Were things like that, or even talking about America, like, hey, we're not equal, we're not the same, was that just spoken about?
No, it's not. It wasn't necessarily spoken about because what I've seen a lot of, because this country did do some great things, like when the civil rights movement, right? And just
Huge.
Like we got to stop this stuff. And so what I feel like happened, I think there's some proof of it, but what I feel like is hatred towards races or racism in that cause.
Yep.
It went underground, in the sense that
Okay.
you can't, if you blatantly speak about it, you'll get fired. You could have jail
Affirmative
time.
action laws, all that jazz.
Hate crimes, all that. Hate crimes became a real thing. Even though all crime is kind of a hate crime. You know what I mean? But
We'll do a whole show on hate crime sometime. I think it's the dumbest idea ever.
do you?
If I murder you, I murdered you.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Who cares why I murdered you? How is it worse?
That's a good point.
How is
That's
it
a
worse
good
if I
point.
murdered you because you were black? I
Right.
killed you.
Yeah. And I think
The idea is you cannot examine that person's intent. You can't. All you can examine is my actions.
Exactly. And then we can assume why this happened, or but
Like, that's
but so
different.
but absolutely, but why the term hate crimes became a thing,
Yep.
right? But it's this. I mean, coming from Chicago, the Chicago
Sure.
area, and then coming to Minnesota, and being in Minneapolis, north side of Minneapolis, and then coming
Yeah.
into Eagan, Minnesota, right?
Yeah,
It's a
different
different ball
neighborhood.
game.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
different thing.
Oh yeah.
And like you see it, and the more I grew up, the more I saw it, right? The more I saw
So
like
what specifically?
people's discomfort around me.
Ah.
I saw people's. I mean, like I've seen people's like this. This happened the other day, right? I'm at work. I'm dropping something off, and I've seen this before. Like, hello, thank you. We're done here now. You know what I mean? I mean that's how I felt, and I've
Sure.
seen it before, and I'm just like,
Sure.
like when someone's happy to see you,
Yeah.
like Tim,
Yeah.
dude, how
I
are
get
you?
a big old hug.
Right?
It's great.
Right?
I love it.
Or even if they
Nice.
don't know you, like, oh,
Right.
hey, hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've literally seen people smile at talking to people and see me and see the smile just go. And I'm just like, what did I do? What did I do? I got a smile on my face.
Sure.
You know who I am.
You're an incredibly friendly person.
Man, I
You might
really,
be the most friendly person I know.
that means a lot to me because
You are, dude. Like
I love people. You know
you
this.
do.
And I'm not
I'm
perfect
the
at
guy
it.
who sits in the back of the room and I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look scary.
Yeah.
Like I did this in youth group. I walked in and I was looking for somebody, and I can get in a mindset where I walk in a certain way
Yeah.
where I look like get in my way, I will thump you. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm not a big person, but and this kid is in youth group. He goes, dude, just walking in here like that, like you're scary, man. And I just realized, like, oh yeah, I've kind of got that. Like, I was looking for somebody, and I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta go, I gotta find this person. I got that. I was just that vibe
Yeah.
I was in. I was like, get in my way, it's gonna be bad for you, son. And he was like, whoa. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm just looking for somebody. But you're extremely friendly.
And so so that I never walk in a room like that. I don't.
Right.
I just don't want to. You know what I mean? Like you race or black or not. Like I don't. That's not me. You know what I mean? And so like I see it. I'm like, what did I do?
Right.
Like do I belong here? Like and so like.
Oh,
that,
okay. So that I was gonna ask, like, how does that apply? Is like,
Right.
oh, does that mean I'm less than
Right,
these
man.
people who are regular Americans? Is that kind of what you're tying
Yes,
it to? Okay.
yes. Okay, another story. Okay, I got a little cousin. You know, my wife is white, and I love her family, bro. Like we've been able to sit down and talk to people. Like that's family. It's not like my wife. That's
Absolutely.
family. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
That's awesome.
Little cousin. This is back in the day, man. We 12 years married now. So like, and you
Awesome.
know, like just before we married.
Buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
great.
Almost
It's
12.
great.
Almost 12. Not
Oh.
there. Almost. But
Good. Love it.
little cousin. He like 5, 6
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Look, and I love him to death. And I love
Yeah.
him to death. And he goes, Jeff, are you African American? I said, yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so what does that make you? He goes, regular American. And I was like, and I just laughed. Do I think his parents are racist? No, I know them. I don't believe that to be, you know what I mean?
A kid trying to express
Right.
what he's thinking.
Right. But in his 6
Yep.
years of life, what does he experience through
Yeah.
what he knows, what he's seen at home, in the schools, what he's seen in the media, whatever, to make him go, I'm regular, and he's African American. You know what I mean?
He's other.
Yeah. And so, like, but the truth is, many of us, because I'm not going to sit here and go, I know that's a thing. Many
Yeah.
of us in black culture, and not just black culture, I mean, Asian American, Mexican
Oh, yeah.
American, you know, I felt that. We have felt that, you know, and it's just like,
That's why I hate the word African American. I hate it.
you know what I mean? And
I
like,
despise
so,
it.
okay, I got this hat on for a reason. I went to the van and got it. So
Right.
it literally just says American.
I love it.
All right. And I wear this for
Wear
a reason.
that.
One, because I'm like, I'm American.
Yes.
Like, I'm American.
100%.
That's it. Like, that's
Yes.
it. And like, I don't know anything else.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, now I would love to go to Africa and understand that, my heritage. I think that's a beautiful thing. But I'm like, I was born here. And I thank God I was born. And when I went to Haiti, like, here's another thing. Like, I went to Haiti, right?
Yep.
First time I've ever been in a country where, like, my skin tone is the most dominant thing, which is a trip in itself.
Right.
Everybody's black. It's crazy. And I can understand their plight. And then I know the history of Haiti a little bit. Like,
Yep.
like I get that. You're like, yo, I understand that.
Yep.
But then there came a point where I was like, I'm far more American than I am Haitian.
Absolutely.
And like, I mean, seriously, like, I was just like, yeah, I get that, the struggle. I was like, man, but all of a sudden I was like, actually, like, because I was like, you know, it's probably maybe 2 or 3 other people, black people
Yep.
with us.
Yep.
But I was just like, but at the end of the day, like, yo, like,
Yep.
I fit in far more on this side of the aisle than that one.
Absolutely.
I'm American.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, I guess, and this is the struggle. Like, I guess I'm waiting for this country as a whole. And what I mean by this country, I don't like bland. I don't want
Yeah.
to be vague.
Yep.
What I mean is my white brothers and sisters, Christians or not, to go, yeah, he's American.
Yep.
He's American. And I feel like it hasn't happened. And it's always, or it's this black issue or an urban issue or this thing. And I just like, but here's another thing. And I know this. My job is not to wait for someone to accept me in anything. My job is to go out and live who I've been called to be.
I was just going to say, why the hell are you waiting for permission?
Bro, man, come on now.
And okay. Oh, man. I don't even know if I want to open this can of worms, but I kind of want to.
Open it.
So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And honestly, it pisses me off.
Yeah, I feel you.
Not you.
I
like,
hear, bro. I hear
okay?
you.
Like, I'm not a native Minnesotan. Okay?
Right.
That's part of this. Okay. Minnesota is an incredibly racist place.
You think so?
I know so.
Mm.
Let me explain. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, which is fine. I don't really care. So I grew up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay, north side of Philly, northwest, and in my neighborhood we had everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, we had Hispanic kids, black kids, and we did not care.
Yeah.
I think I said this before. Like, could you catch a football?
Sure.
That's all I cared about. Could you hit a baseball?
Yeah.
Could you run fast? When we were playing water gun fights in the summer, could you keep up with me when we
Sure.
were raiding the enemy base and getting water balloons?
Yeah.
Okay? I grew up with delicious food from all these different cultures. Like my kids, we were talking about today. We were at church. We were talking with one of the guys, another small group guy who's going to be leading a small group. We were just talking about food. What's your favorite food? My kids are like, my favorite food's curry, like Indian curry. I'm like,
Yeah.
awesome. I'm like, yeah, Greek food, like all sorts of like. We love ethnic food. So there's not that thing, and I get there's that separation.
Yeah.
So I grew up where there wasn't that.
Yeah.
We didn't care. We were come, play hard,
Yeah.
welcome at the church, whatever. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a very white place. So, didn't have a lot of black people around, like all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. Like come to my church and everything. So I guess there was kind of that, but there was never that divide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? Then I moved here,
Mm.
and it was so different.
Yeah.
The culture was very, very tribal.
Sure. Sure.
Very, okay, we are these people. I remember I grew up in Owatonna. My teenage years I spent in Owatonna. And there was like 12 founding families that
Yeah.
founded that town or city or whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to call it. And if you had a certain last name, you could do whatever you want.
Mm.
I was homeschooled. I didn't go to the local high school, so I didn't know
Right.
this.
Right.
And these people would come in. I worked at a local grocery store, rented videos. They'd want, hey, 15-year-old kid wanted to rent an R-rated movie. I said, you can't rent it. He goes, well, my dad's out in the car. I said, then your dad's going to have to come in and get it. And he
Yeah.
went, don't you know who I am?
Mm.
And I went, I don't care who you are.
Right.
Like, the law is the law.
Right.
Like,
Right. Mm.
But it was different.
Yep.
And I don't want to get political. Certain political persuasions believe more in segregation than others.
Mm.
Okay? And the idea is, even though we're going to put programs in place for African Americans, and we're going to have all these social nets and stuff,
Yeah.
we don't want them to live in our neighborhood.
Mm.
That's what I learned when I got here.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Oh no. We'll provide all these extra handouts for certain people.
Mm.
But I want you living in my neighborhood in
Yeah.
Bloomington, West Bloomington,
Mhm.
a really nice one.
Yeah,
No,
sure,
absolutely
sure.
not.
Mm.
You can stay in South Minneapolis.
Right.
You can stay in North Minneapolis.
I think I completely agree with that.
And
point
so, like,
in many ways.
I think that I want to bring this around. Okay, I think that the slavery is mental.
I completely agree.
Because here's what I know. I signed up, and the guys that served with me signed up to potentially put their lives on the line
Man.
because the Constitution applies to you and the Bill of Rights applies to you and
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
What drives me nuts, and this is something that our culture is doing a lot, is we talk about equality versus equity.
Yeah.
Okay? And I hate this discussion because it's just stupid. There's nothing that is equal in this world.
I agree.
We
Yeah,
are not,
that's so true.
We are not equal.
Mm.
Okay? Physically, you are way bigger than me. Because you play basketball and, you're good at that.
Of course, you know.
That's right. It's just, you can dunk all over the place.
It's
Okay?
amazing.
Like, mentally, we're not the same. We have
Sure.
different upbringings. We have different education.
is true.
I sat down with my brother this week. He blessed me richly by helping out with a project. I was incapacitated. I kind of got blown up.
Yeah.
We'll probably put pictures.
It
of the
looks so
birds.
much better now,
Dude,
though.
it-
I wish we would have recorded like a week ago or something because it was.
Yeah,
different. It looks fantastic.
I was
now.
I was in a propane explosion, and by God's grace, I have all of my ears and
Amen.
my nose
Amen.
and my eyelids
Yeah,
still.
yeah. Amen.
And it could have been a lot worse. I healed incredibly fast. I still am healing, but I'm doing really well.
It does look good.
But he came up to help, and my brother and I, we did not grow up well. Like, I really hated him growing up, and he
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hated me. We
Yeah.
were in constant competition. And here's what I realized, Jeff: we're completely different people.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like literally, like he is academically super intelligent. You want somebody
you
to kick
are too.
you want somebody to kick a door down and shoot somebody? He's not your guy.
Sure.
I will happily do that if I have to.
Hey man, sure.
Zero hesitation.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, boom, door, boom, clear it. All right, move. 4-man team. Let's do this thing. He just doesn't have that in him. He doesn't have that killer instinct. He doesn't have that decisiveness.
Yeah.
He's parenting his kids in a completely different way than I am. His oldest daughter, who is 15 now,
Yeah.
Grace, beautiful girl, wonderful. I love her so much. Very sweet. But we're doing a construction project.
Yeah.
We're finishing my dad's basement, and literally she's there, and she's there to help if we need her to help. And I'm like, hey, I said we've got a whole bunch of boards to cut. You want to help us cut them? And she just goes, very sweetly goes, no. And I'm like. And I looked over at my brother, Steve, and he goes, yeah, she doesn't have to. That's not why she's here. And, I had this, moment where I was like, because with my kids, I'm like, no, I want you to experience that.
Right.
Literally, my 8-year-old has sat with a miter saw, and she's cut 2x4s. So some of you might think I'm a barbarian, and you're like, how dare you let your kid use power tools? It's safe. Like, I'm not just going, hey, plug it in and see if it cuts your hand off. Like,
Right. You're with them. I get it.
right. But I want them to experience. Here's how I've let my kids shoot a nail gun. Here's how you cut this. Here's how you put this together. Here's the type of bolt you need for this. Here's how you use the drill. Like I want them to experience it.
Right.
My brother doesn't care.
Right.
Difference.
Right.
And that's okay.
Mm.
I'm like, awesome. That's great. But it took me a while to get there. The differences between me and him are okay. The difference between you and me are okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to have equal results.
Right.
We have to have equal opportunity.
Hey.
No one should be able to tell you, because of fill in the blank,
Right.
you can't do X.
Right.
Now, you make a choice to disqualify you from something,
Sure.
totally different.
Amen.
There's a lot of reasons why people can't serve in the military. There is literally 34%, only 34% of the population can even qualify to join the military.
Really?
Absolutely. 34% of the age appropriate people.
Sure. Got you.
Because you've got medical issues. There are people
Sure.
who are too overweight. Your height and weight gets measured.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one for you. If you have one testicle, you cannot join the military.
Really?
I have no idea why.
Wow.
Oh, I shouldn't tell this one on air. I'll tell you one of the funniest
All right,
disqualification stories from a buddy of mine who's
Yeah.
a recruiter. I should tell it. It's not appropriate. It's really funny though. All right, I'm gonna tell it.
Just tell it. Here
I
we
have a
go.
buddy who was a recruiter.
Yeah.
And I was joining the military. And I asked him, because I'm me and I'm weird, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I said, "What's the weirdest thing that's disqualified someone?" He goes, "Penis size." And I went,
Are you serious?
I said, "Sorry, what?" He goes, "Yeah, so you go through this incredibly invasive physical
Yeah.
when you and literally any little thing, you're out. Like you cough too much, you're out.
Yeah.
Your eyesight's too bad, you're out." And he goes, "Yeah, this guy, so part of it, they check all your stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
They check
Very
everything.
exciting."
Sure.
And the doctor just goes, "Nope." And goes, writes a red line through his name. He goes, "I'm sorry, what?" He goes, "You have such a small penis that you will be so horribly mocked at basic training." Literally, he said this. He said, "I don't want your suicide on my record. You are out. I will not let you do that."
my
And I
God.
went, "You're kidding." He goes, "Nope."
No.
He goes, "I talked to the doctor. He wouldn't pass him." And I went,
Oh my God.
and then I had this thought, because I'm me, right? And I'm like, how does that guy live?
Oh.
Like, I have such a small penis that I couldn't even join the military. Like, how do you live after that, right?
I don't know.
Like, you're just like,
I
my
don't
life
know.
is over.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Man.
So, oh my god, I probably shouldn't have told that story, but it's
that was
funny.
hilarious. Thank you for sharing.
So, only 34% of the population that actually could join the military is physically fit enough, has enough qualities to do so.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. It's that idea of anybody can do this.
Yeah.
And we're fighting because we believe in equality.
Yeah.
I want you to have the exact same opportunities as me. I want
Amen.
your kids to have the exact same
Amen.
opportunities
Amen.
as me.
Yeah.
Now, if I commit a felony, obviously can't join the military.
Right.
If I blow one of my feet off,
Yeah.
can't join the military. Like, there's consequences to choices, but that ideal of freedom.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I always encourage people, go read the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Go read the
Yeah.
documents of our founders. Again, perfect men? No. And I honestly, I was talking to my brother about this. Like, there is a bent this way towards, I'm going to worship America. No, America's
Right.
not my God.
That's what I get afraid of that too. I feel like I see that a lot.
Well, and I get why.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a really, really great book, if you would like some reading on it, by a guy named Eric Metaxas. It's called If You Can Keep It. It's a book about the founding of our country.
Yeah.
About the men who founded our country and why they did it.
Yeah.
Incredibly good book. And he talks about slavery. He talks
Yeah.
about oppression. He talks about all this stuff. He goes, again, the ideal was set forth. We
Yeah.
want to get there.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. And here's the thing, which makes it hard. You and I, with different stories and different perspectives,
Yeah.
we have different ideas on how to get there. And that's what we
Yes.
fight about a lot.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. African American people are, on average, far more impoverished than white people.
Yes.
That is a scientifically established fact, sociological
agree.
fact, okay? But the why behind that is debatable,
Right. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
African Americans are incarcerated at a much higher rate than whites,
Yeah.
especially for their age, especially African American males. Okay?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why that's there, we can talk about that.
Right.
But that's a fact. I think that the thing that frustrates me the most, and maybe this is kind of what we're talking about, is with the militaries, there are people I see who are pro-military, and I see people who are obviously anti-military, and most of them have never served in the military.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like immigration, and it's kind of like race, where it's this football that gets thrown back and forth, and we use it for political agendas. When the military's going, I signed up because I wanted to give you the ability to debate this, but we don't do that anymore. That's the frustration to me. And the thing that bugs me the most, and we're kind of off on Memorial Day, is
I don't
people
think so.
willingly give up their freedoms.
I don't think we're off at
hate
all. I
hate
can be
that.
honest. I don't think we're off at all. I think this is that. And so, like, as I look at these numbers you wrote down, you know, these deaths and these
Yeah.
wars, right? Like, fighting for that freedom, or fighting for our right to try to get to those places, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. That and if you believe in that, that is a thing worth risking your life for. And so, like, this is why I appreciate this, because the wrestle was not, well, afraid of, you know, starting an argument, sure, but the wrestle is also because I'm wrestling with myself, because
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I get bro, this is like, so, you know, just a little side note. I'm going into real estate. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be a real estate investor, and I'm just like, and I'm learning stuff, and I'm buying stuff, and it's scary. But I'm like, but what I've been learning, like, just in books and just mindset and finances and taxes, all this stuff, like, dude, there's a lot of places I wouldn't be able to do this. Not like this.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what
Yeah.
a great country where they're like that you can go do this, and there are people who are doing this of all colors, shapes, and sizes. You know what I mean?
And what I want for you, and I'm gonna bring this around to the gospel.
Yeah.
Okay? We're celebrating Memorial Day.
Yeah.
The idea of Memorial Day is people died so we could be free.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that make you think of?
What? Jesus. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I thought that right away.
Can be free.
Man, come on now.
So the idea is we're going to celebrate the sacrifice,
Yeah.
not because you and I,
Mm-hmm.
and we're 100% real on this podcast, we don't live in freedom.
Yeah.
That's been purchased for us.
Mm.
There are days where I am a cranky piece of crap to my kids, and I'm nasty to them because I'm not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are days where I have a bad attitude at work, or I'm frustrated with that person, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't walk in the freedom that's been purchased for me.
Yeah.
That is real.
Yeah.
And there could be 1,000 reasons why I don't. But I don't walk in that freedom.
Yeah.
And that doesn't negate the freedom that's there for me. It's because my perspective is wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't, for whatever reason, I don't walk in that freedom. And I feel like what I want for you, and what I want for everybody, whoever's watching this podcast, wherever you come from,
Yeah.
some of the most patriotic people I know
Yeah.
come from other countries.
Yeah.
I was talking
Yep.
to I was talking to a guy who came from communist Russia, and I remember him being like, broken English, you know, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, America's greatest country
Man,
on earth." And
yeah.
you're like, why do you think that? Well, because he knows what it's like.
Right, man. It's a bunch of Cubans down in Florida.
Oh my
you know, they
gosh.
like say what you want, bro. I love this country. You know what I mean? And so, like, and that's my thing. Like, just an example. So, you can't, if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home. Right? That was said in my family, my culture. Right? Because it's like they don't understand us.
Yep.
They'll never get you.
Absolutely.
They just won't. That is true for many people.
I agree.
That isn't true for everyone.
I agree.
And even some people who maybe didn't understand me, they understand me a whole lot better now.
Right.
And I thank God for this, because I thank God for my wife being in my life, and what it's done for me.
Yeah.
What it's done for my family.
Absolutely.
And just it's going. That's not completely true.
Nope.
Right. Like my wife's parents and my parents, they're very similar in so many ways. Now, culture is completely different, right? But in so many ways, they like you're the same. This is ridiculous. And so, like, that freedom that I took to go, I'm going to do this,
Yep.
despite what many people may not want me to
Absolutely.
do, has allowed me to have, see some things I've never done before. And I love that in this country.
I think we don't walk in freedom. I think just like in
don't.
America, we don't
don't.
walk in freedom because we don't believe it applies to us. And I think that's what I wanted to get to is
Yeah.
the freedom purchased by the blood shed and what we remember on Memorial Day. I want you to walk in that American freedom. Is it? Because I think it's an echo of Christ.
Yeah, it is.
Is it a perfect echo? No, but it's just like marriage is an echo of Christ. Parents
it's
and
not a
children is,
perfect
there's-
echo at all.
There's these beautiful pictures that God's like, hey, this points to something. America is not a Christian nation.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I would
hear
agree.
people say that, and some people are like, okay,
It's not.
It's not.
it's not.
Okay. Were we founded on Judeo-Christian principles? 100%.
Yeah,
Were the laws written in a certain way to promote religious freedom because of the Christianity that many, not all, a lot of the founding fathers were deists, okay? Some of them were Christians, but a lot of them were deists. John Whitfield, very interesting person I've been reading a lot about. He's basically kind of responsible for America being in a moral position to even have a revolution. Because you look at the American... Oh, it's a totally different topic. You look at the American Revolution, and you look at the French Revolution, and look at the difference. What did the French do? They murdered everybody they didn't like. Literally cutting off people's heads with a guillotine. Why? Because they had a godless revolution. They said, we're going to put God over here because we don't need him.
Right.
Where the Americans were like, nope, every single document, we're putting in that we need God. Okay, I want to do this real quick.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I want to read the Gettysburg Address because I think it applies, bringing it all the way back to Memorial Day, what we remember. So this was given by Abraham Lincoln, November 19th, 1863. There was 40,000 plus casualties at Gettysburg. So when we're talking casualties, we're not just talking dead. We're talking maimed, some type of incapacitation. So I took a bullet. I took shrapnel. I was injured in some way. There's over 40,000 men. There's about 150,000 in the conflict. Between 40 and 50,000 were casualties. Many went on to die, and that's one of the things we don't talk about. We talk about the dead. We don't talk about the thousands of guys who come home and they're missing a leg, they're missing an arm. They have. There's some guys I serve with. I won't mention them. Obviously, I don't want to embarrass them. They've got TBI. Traumatic brain injury. There's a guy I was talking to a couple weeks ago. He was blown up 8 times in Iraq. 8 times he was hit by IEDs. His brain is permanently damaged from that. So he's got to figure out how to live life with mental issues because he got blown up doing stuff. Okay, so here's what, and a lot of people probably know this speech. So Lincoln apparently wrote it on the train on his way to Gettysburg. It was one of the most powerful. I love Lincoln. He's such an interesting person.
I know a little history buff. I think it was Chandler who said it. This was not a popular speech.
It wasn't.
When it was first...
It was not a popular speech. Lincoln was a very interesting man because he was very... Oh, man, we don't even have time to go into abolition and the whole... I'm in this... books. So I'm in this biography of Grant right now. And it's so fascinating because Grant married a woman who was a slave owner from the South. So he had her family, which were very pro-South. But he was from the North, and he was raised in a strict Methodist home, which were abolitionists. He was raised around abolitionists, so very, very, very anti-slavery. And so he's like caught in this world of like, oh my goodness, we'll do a whole show on the Civil War. Fascinating conflict. Anyway, so think about this. This is a couple days after Gettysburg. Like some of the bodies are still out there. Like blood, sweat, tears, the stench of it. Like the horses died by the hundreds. They had to burn them. Like just the smell. Okay. So he gets up, and he was this tall, gangly, kind of weird looking. If you look at pictures of Lincoln, he was not a good looking dude. Okay. It wasn't JFK, right? So he says, so 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that a nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us. That from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
That's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
It's different, doesn't it?
It's a beautiful. I mean, like you know me. I talk about like freedom in Christ, right? 100%. So anytime I hear freedom, that's what I think of, and not it's a beautiful thing, and to have that like in this country, and like I do love hearing that. And I guess what I have that tug of war with is just going my place or my family's place in this country, or what it has been, or what it is, or what we want it to be, or whatever. But the truth is like I'm grateful for that. I really am. I really am. Like I am not anti-military.
Yep.
I remember going to the Super Bowl was here a few years ago. Yeah. Your Eagles won that year. Fly Eagles fly, right? Right. So I got invited to go. I was a coach for these kids, NFL Play 60, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So me and my oldest me and Lamar went out there. I got $50 for it, and we was just coaching kids and stuff, and like doing drills. And it was fun. It was really fun.
That's awesome, man.
And I met Anthony Munoz. He was a Hall of Famer lineman for the Bengals.
Yep.
Lamar took a picture with him.
That's awesome,
it was really
man.
cool, right?
Super cool.
So get this. We're leaving out of this place.
Yeah.
We're leaving out of this. We're walking out, getting into an escalator.
Yeah.
And these guys come out. They weren't armed force. They were police, but they was dressed up like the camouflage. You know.
Yep.
I mean, the guns they had was bigger than Lamar. I mean, these boys was not playing, right?
Yep.
I'm like, dang. So like, I said, can I take a picture? Can my boy take a picture with you guys? I said, yeah. And so they was cool about it.
Awesome.
And so we were on the escalator ride. They're like, I said, what's where you from? I was like, they're from Georgia. They was coming up here for the Super Bowl and all this stuff, and it was cool. And they was cool guys.
Yep.
All three white guys. You know, like,
yep.
All right, cool, yeah.
Great guys.
And I sat there and I thought about it, because I put this on Facebook later that day. And I was just like, security's heightened for big population things.
100%.
Always, because it needs to be.
The amount of money that goes into that.
Oh, absolutely,
is nuts.
Dude. The amount of trucks I saw, it was just crazy. So I'm like, I get that.
Some of the boys I serve with were down there.
I can imagine so.
Yep.
And so, but this is what I thought of, and I put this on Facebook. I was like, if gunshots started going off.
Yep.
And I hear them over there.
Yep.
Me and my son are running this way.
That's right.
I know where my car's at. I'm going to the parking ramp.
That's right.
And those three men,
they're running towards them.
They would absolutely,
100%.
They would run towards it. They would start thinking about their training. And I'm like,
yep, absolutely.
For anyone,
absolutely,
for anyone,
yep,
to do a job like that,
yep,
that is such an honorable job. It just is.
And it's different, and to remember those who ran towards the fire.
Man.
And again, was every single person killed in World War II or the Korean War a war hero? No, most of them are just everyday people.
Sure.
But I'm a big history nerd. I'm a big military history nerd.
Yeah.
And to hear the stories, and I know tons of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch Band of Brothers. The thing that gets me at Band of Brothers is at the end, because I watched it the first time. My wife bought it for me.
Yeah.
For like Christmas one year. And at the end, where the interviews of these old guys, you find out that they're the guys.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I cried. I remember the first time I watched that, the moment that I think got me the most is after Bastogne, which was a crazy conflict in itself, and I could do like a 3-hour show on just Bastogne because it's such an interesting.
Yeah. The
German Blitzkrieg and and I'm a big, like I said, history nerd, but they lost so many guys. They literally the 82nd Airborne was pinned between American and German lines. They were getting hit by both artilleries.
Yeah, wow.
They didn't have any shoes. They didn't have winter gear. They're like freezing to death, and then they're getting shelled on top of it, and they're caught between the lines, and they got nailed by a German offensive.
Yeah. Okay,
and at the end, there's this scene where Captain Winters is in the church. There's these nurses, and they, these nuns rather, and they're taking care of the wounded, and he's sitting there, and he's sitting at the front of the church, and he's looking out at the pews, and it's all these guys, and then as the camera pans, they just start to disappear, and disappear, and disappear, and disappear, and there's like a third of them left. And he was seeing how many guys he started with and how many guys he ended with, and I just went like, yep. And here's what I want to leave it with, okay? On Memorial Day, I like to ask questions. So, will you perceive it differently? Like, that's my question to you out there. Maybe you've served, and if you have, I thank God for you.
Yeah.
But I would encourage you, watch a war movie. Go watch 13 Hours. Go watch Band of Brothers. Go watch Saving Private Ryan. Go watch Black Hawk Down. Go watch The Patriot. Go watch something like that. And instead of just going, wow, look at the explosions are cool, like, these were humans who gave their lives so other people could be set free. One of my favorite movies of all time is a movie called Gettysburg. It's based on a novel called The Killer Angels by Michael Shaw, which is just go read it.
Yeah.
Like, don't, like, there's a character, it's all based on real facts, okay? A guy who was one of my personal heroes of the Civil War. His name was Colonel Chamberlain at the time. He became a general. He actually became the governor of Maine. And a Supreme Court justice in Maine, but Christian man. But he was a colonel, which is pretty high rank. In his unit, I'm gonna get it wrong. I want to say 82nd Maine, but that's not right. It was a unit from Maine. He gives this speech in the movie, and it's in the book.
Yeah.
They had a whole bunch of guys who signed up. Everybody else signed 2-year papers, so they signed 2-year contracts in the military.
Yeah.
But this part of the unit signed 3-year papers. And so it's like 400 guys who the rest of their unit got to go home.
Yeah.
And they were like, nope, you got to stay. And so they mutinied. They just said, we're not going to fight anymore. And so they get given to this Maine regiment because it's the only other Maine regiment that's there.
Yeah.
And these guys had lost over 50% of their unit in previous battles. So
Yeah.
they're super, super low. Okay. And they bring these guys in. These guys don't want to fight.
Yeah.
They hadn't been fed. They've been treated like garbage because, well, you're mutineers. You deserve it. Literally, Colonel Chamberlain has been told, hey, if you want to shoot these guys for mutinying or whatever, you totally can.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't shoot them. I can't go back home to Maine if I shoot a bunch of Maine guys. Like,
Right.
So he goes under this tree, and they're being fed for the first time, and he makes this speech, and it's so good. Go look it up, Colonel Chamberlain's speech. But he has this line, and I was trying to find it. He basically talks about. Here we go. Okay. He says this. He says, this is a different kind of army. If you look back through history, you see men fighting for pay, for women, for some other kind of loot. They fight for land, for power, because a king leads them, or just because they particularly like killing. But we are here for something new. This has not happened much in the history of the world. We are an army out to set other men free. He goes, America should be free ground, all of it, not divided in a line between slave state and free, all the way from here to the Pacific Ocean. No man has to bow, no man born to royalty. Here we judge you by who you are, not by who your father was. Here you can be something. Here is a place to build a home. It's not about the land. There's always more land. It's the idea that we all have value.
Amen.
You and me. That's what we're fighting for in the end. We're fighting for each other. And I think that's where I want to leave it, is America is not a perfect country.
Right.
Because America is made up of imperfect people.
Yes.
I'm not downplaying anything that you've gone through. I would never do that. And it irks me to an incredibly deep level that you don't feel like you can step into that freedom. Like there's something that makes you feel like maybe I'm not quite fully American, because that's garbage. Because you are. Okay?
Yeah.
Just like I am, just like anybody who's a citizen is.
Yeah.
Okay? I want you to step into that freedom, because that freedom was bought with blood. No different than I want you and I want everybody out there to step into the freedom that Christ has bought for us. Way more important than American freedom. And yes, 4th of July, shoot off fireworks, grill a steak, do all that really cool stuff. Like, yeah, shoot guns, all that. Okay?
Yeah.
Christ purchased our freedom on the cross.
Yes.
He says, don't walk in slavery. That's a choice. Don't go back into bondage.
Yes.
In the book of Galatians, he says, do not submit to the yoke of slavery again.
Yes.
You've been set free. Don't go
Amen.
back.
Amen. Come on.
And so for me going, okay, we need to be thankful for the freedoms that we have as Americans.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
need to walk in them. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell everybody out there. No one can take that freedom away from you.
Amen.
Nobody can.
Amen.
You've got to walk in it. And I've got to walk in it. And those people out there got to walk in it. And if we did that, you and me, and everybody out there,
Yeah.
instead of waiting for somebody else to give us permission to do that, I think we'd have a different country. Now, sadly, a lot of people want somebody else's permission. We saw that a lot this year. Wait, I have permission to go see my relatives?
Huh? Right? Yeah. Come on now.
You
Yeah.
always had that choice.
Mm.
You know, I mean, really? So maybe that's where I want to end it, is remember what was given for us. Be grateful for it. Not for the perfection that it's not,
Right.
but for the ideal that it's striving towards.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and I think I feel like that isn't what's said,
I agree.
and so it I feel like it dismisses a lot of pain and things that people feel, and so like I like that, I like that, and I won't even get on this, but just thinking people have literally lived in that freedom
Absolutely.
and how have lost their freedom simply because someone else used their freedom to do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that hurts. That hurts a lot. And I'm not even talking about anything specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it has happened to many people. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so, but this is not a perfect country. And in that, may we find justice for people who have been in injustice.
Yes.
And I mean that for every American.
Absolutely.
Okay? Black
Absolutely.
people, I love you. And this is what I get afraid of, Tim. I guess I get afraid of if I choose
Yep.
this,
Yep.
I'm getting away from this.
And that's something. Oh, we don't have time. That's something that I would love to talk about culturally.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
I think that is a cultural thing
Yeah. Oh, it is.
more than it is a real thing. No different than the whole, well, don't bring her home if she can't use your comb.
Right. Well, yeah. But
And it's like, well, wait a second.
I-
That thinking is so broken, and there's so much bondage in that thinking.
Man.
But guess what? If I've been taught that from infancy,
right. But it's you taught it, but then you then there are times you genuinely see it.
you experience it, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to. And I can't believe
And I know, and I
It's like,
know this
okay.
because that's because you saw it in this situation.
Yep.
Does that mean that this way for everything? And it isn't. It isn't. But breaking from that,
Oh, yeah.
is such a
Well,
such a thing.
And going into a situation going, hey, that person treated me that way.
Yeah,
I bet it's because I'm black.
sure. Oh man,
And
I've
a
done it.
huge percentage
Yeah.
because you've been taught that way.
Yeah,
Or even, I'm going to flip around completely different because
Yeah.
I like doing that because it's fun. Oh, that person found out I'm a Christian, now they treat me different.
oh yeah.
Well,
sure.
I bet they're just, okay. Or maybe they had a really bad experience with somebody who's a Christian.
And it's so true.
Maybe,
Tim.
and there's like all these, and
Yeah.
yet what I can do is I can take that offense on me
Yeah.
and go, well, I know, it's like, whoa,
Right,
okay,
right.
okay. And here's what I want to leave everybody with, okay? Freedom to be an American, if you're an American citizen, has been purchased for you by blood. You choose whether or not you want to live in it.
Amen.
Freedom was purchased for you and me in Christ.
Yes.
Freedom from sin, death, evil, and everything in my past.
Amen.
Everything in my future.
Amen. Yes.
I have to choose every day if I want to walk in that.
Yes.
And
yes.
here's the thing. When I don't, it doesn't make the sacrifice less powerful. It only means I don't value it as much as I should.
Right. Oh.
So maybe this is where we end it. Will you view the sacrifice of the men and women who have died in service to our country as the valuable thing that it is? And will you view the sacrifice that Jesus gave as the freedom-giving, valuable thing that it is? Or are we going to live in bondage?
Yeah. And I would say this, because as you say that, I'm like, I can feel some people going, who are you to tell me that that's what this is?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I guess I would say it like this. I don't think you said it wrong. I don't.
Sure.
I need you to know that.
Sure.
But I know people, all right? Because I've been one of those people.
Yeah.
Will you consider thinking about this differently?
Oof, I like that better.
I mean, seriously.
Less aggressive.
And Tim, I know you.
Do it.
I know you.
That's right.
I know you.
Oh,
I didn't take any offense to what you said,
I know.
but I know how
Thank
it could come
you.
out. So like,
Well, that's good.
And,
It's good for me.
Man, no,
I need that.
I know you, and I get
Awesome.
that. And so I guess I would say, will you consider
Yeah.
looking at it differently? Here's
Yeah.
the thing: I don't care who you are, what color, race, culture you come from.
Absolutely.
The easiest thing for anybody to do, anybody,
Yep.
is to sit on their hill with their flag
Yep.
and point over there.
Yep. It's their fault.
Okay.
Oof.
Now, the hard thing is for me to go, let me walk over there and hear what they have to say. Now, I may walk back on my hill and go, I completely or still agree with what and disagree. Okay. But to go over there.
I want to take it one step further.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason we think that it's so honorable when those firefighters ran into the building knowing they weren't going to make it.
Yeah.
The reason why we honor the guys who charged the beaches on Normandy knowing
Yeah.
that they were going to get mowed down. The reason why we celebrate heroes who stayed and fought. Sergeant First Class Paul Smith
Yeah.
stayed and fought knowing he wasn't going to make
Man.
it. Okay, so his guys could go free.
Man,
Okay,
so they could
It's
live.
it's because it echoes something else. It echoes that sacrifice that Jesus gave for us. Greater love has no man than this, that he gives up his life for his friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the thing: that sacrifice is so valuable.
It
It's
is,
so
though.
beautiful.
It is, though.
And Jesus made that sacrifice knowing the people in the other camp were still going to hate him.
And that's where
Oof.
you preaching, and that's where we need to be. One, first of all, as believers in Jesus
Yeah.
Christ,
Yes.
that's what we need to do, and try to understand people we don't agree with and we don't
Yep.
see their point of view. Help, talk to me.
Yeah.
I want to listen.
Yeah.
I want to understand. I may not change my point of view, but I want to understand you, because that's where the value becomes in.
And I want you to feel loved.
Yeah.
Like, that was my biggest concern about talking tonight, was that
Yeah.
you would feel at the end of this, you would go, Tim might not be in the same place as me. We might have different opinions on this,
Yeah.
but man, that dude cares about my soul.
And Tim, I haven't doubted it.
Amen.
I just haven't. And
Amen.
like and I'm that's why I wanted to do this today, because I knew that fear, trepidation, whatever, like I knew that's there and it's real, but I'm
Yep.
like, we have to get through those things.
Yes.
And the only way we do it is by talking about
Absolutely.
these things. And that's it. And so like maybe this wasn't perfectly constructed. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm so proud of this episode, and I'm proud of who we are and who God is growing us to be.
Amen.
And I mean this. This ain't for the camera. This ain't no. Like I am not offended by anything you said or how you said it. I know, Tim. I know you.
That's right.
I know you.
I know you.
And it ain't. I'm like, okay. I think that could have been said differently, right?
Sure.
I'm like, I know you.
Yeah.
Like you said it a few times. Like that pissed me off, but not you. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know, Tim.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Amen.
That it. And so like, I thank God for you. And let me tell you, men,
Yeah.
Christians in general, or
Yep.
just people, but definitely believers.
Yeah.
Find people you can be honest with. And it's not an easy thing, and it's not gonna come easy. It just isn't. Because if they say that one thing, you're like, oh, they don't see this the way I see it. How is this conversation gonna go? Whatever.
I love that. I want
Yeah.
to say one more thing. We gotta
No,
end.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
It was going to be the longest episode
Yeah.
ever. It's cool. I'm okay with that. Find people you can bleed with.
Yeah. Yes.
Because here's the thing.
Yes.
The reason why there's so much camaraderie in the military is because everybody goes through basic the same. When I went through basic, I was 32 years old. I had kids who were 17, and I had a guy who was 34.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had in just my platoon. So you go through in platoons. It's your little group, and then you've got your bigger your troops and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. Just my platoon. I had black, white, Hispanic. I had mixed people.
Yeah.
I had people from all over the country. I had people from the deep south. I had people from way out in the boonies. I had
Yeah.
kids. We had 2 inner city kids. They'd never been in the woods before. We signed up to be cavalry scouts, which means you spend a lot of time in the woods.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, you've never been in the woods before? And you
Right.
signed up for the job? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's all right, man. And here's the thing is, when you go through that pain together,
Yeah.
you don't care.
Come on, man.
Because guess what? At the end
That's
of the
it.
day, you take a round, and guess what? There was conflict.
Man.
There's people who didn't like each other in our
Man.
platoon.
Right, come on
There was
now.
Literally, there's fight clubs.
I believe,
I'm
man.
not kidding. I watched a guy get his ear punched off. That was
Dang.
a great day.
Yeah, sounds like a
And
great
you
day.
know what? The next day, he said, I fell off my bunk.
Yeah.
100%. And the
yeah,
drill
yeah.
sergeants were like, okay. They
Right.
knew.
Right. Yeah.
But we took care of each other. You drag people over that finish line. We had kids who couldn't do ruck marches. We didn't care. Because it was about that camaraderie. That breaks those racial barriers because you're bleeding together.
And yeah.
Jeff and I, we've bled together.
Man.
Like, we've been through blood, sweat, and tears. And so if you don't have that relationship with somebody, it's going to take work. And that's okay.
And that fear kind of blinds me from what we've done together.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so therefore going through it again, like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
I know who this man is.
Absolutely.
And so like that's why I'm so grateful for this. And like, and one thing I'll say too, like the camaraderie I've seen in the military
Yep.
is beautiful.
It is.
I mean it. Like I'm just like, bro, like when your
Nothing
life
like
is
it
on
on
the
the civilian
line,
world.
I think if someone's life was on the line, there, like I could see them going, this echoes that, but one, you signed up for this, and this what this could potentially
Yep.
be, and the camaraderie I've seen in it, like yo, like I'm gonna make sure that guy's kids is taken care of. You know what I mean, like that type
dude,
of stuff,
it's,
like
it's massive.
it's crazy to me, and I'm like, I love that, I truly love it, and so I'm not on that level.
Yep.
I'm just not, but I know, bro, I love you.
Yes, sir.
I mean it. You
sir.
know this. I freaking love you.
I know you do.
Bro. Like
It blesses
like,
my soul.
Like you have literally had me in tears just going, I value you. I'm like that, like Tim, like whatever you need and it's in my power to do,
100%.
it's done.
100%.
That's just it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
that's it. Like I see your girls in church and I'm just like, it was I'm just like, I don't know where Dad's at. I'm like, all right, well, you sit with me, and I'll give your dad a call. I'm like, you're mine.
Absolutely.
You are mine until you feel good. You know you're with your
I
dad.
got
You know what I'm
this.
saying? Like,
I got this.
like
I love
that's,
it.
I'm serious. Like, bro,
know.
like,
I know.
bro, like, look,
And that's what I want for everybody.
that's what we need.
And
That's
that,
what we
that
need.
camaraderie. So, dude, I'm so glad we talked about this.
I am too.
Even though it was a hard one, even though it was a long one.
It's good though.
It
It's good.
is. It is. And so I guess that's our challenge. That's our question is, will you walk? Can we invite you into that freedom? To walk in the freedom that's been purchased for you. Both the freedom, if you're an American, it's been purchased for you by men and women who have died. And will you, more importantly, walk in the freedom given you spiritually by Jesus?
Amen. Amen.
Because that's
Yes.
more important than any of this. And yeah, thump your chest, be a red-blooded American. I love it. But man, that sacrifice just echoes a greater sacrifice and
Yes,
a greater freedom.
yes.
So until next time, stay real.
And stay grounded.